You guys know I have an A7 III, I have an A7S III, and I actually picked up this guy right here, the A7C, thinking, okay, well, you know, I'm going to match this one with my A7 III. I can use all three of them for a wedding or any events. You know, my thought was I'll get, you know, A7C on one side, the A7 III on the other, so I can get the groom and the bride basically crisscross, and I don't have to worry about missing that shot. And I can shoot, you know, these two in S-Log2, maybe just use the A7 III in S-Log2, right? And I started doing some sample shots of this today in the daylight, and I gotta tell you, man, it's so freaking frustrating just to see like how off the colors are. And you know, the white balance, basically I set it for the sun, and so I didn't do like any of the like setting the white balance off of a white card. Now that shouldn't matter because they're all using the sun icon, as well as doing S-Log2. I have it set for S-Gamut, right? And then they're set the same, right? On all of these cameras, everything is set the same, but the colors are off. And the Sony A7S III, I've always had issues with just like, I'm just not a fan of the colors. The question is, you know, which is the title of this video, is, are Sony's colors getting worse? And from my tests, I'm going to say hell yes, they're getting worse. I don't know what Sony's doing, but it just seems like the A7 III to the A7C to the A7S III. But I think the A7C came out before the A7S III. So I think the A7 III actually has better colors on S-Log2 and S-Log3 than the A7S III. I think it actually has better colors than even the A7C. Now, they're not too far off. I think that the A7C is pretty close. And I really do love this camera. I mean, I ordered it from Amazon last week and I got it the other day, and I thought, well, you know, I'm gonna try this and I'm not gonna like it and I'm gonna return it, right? But it's been the opposite. I mean, I love the image coming out of this. Not so much for photography. I was doing some photography, and I feel like the A7 III is a little bit better on photography, like sharper for some reason. I could be wrong. I have to do more testing on that. But the autofocus on this, I think, is just as good as the A7S III, if not better. I mean, when the eye and face locks on, I mean, it sticks. It's in there. It does not move. And for the A7S III, you know, I have times where I put something in front of it and it gets lost. The box doesn't know where to go. So it's not perfect, but it is pretty damn good. So, but I'm impressed with this camera. This is a great camera. It's small. Not such a fan of the handle, but I like how compact it is. The other thing that I was worried about, because what I really like about the A7 III is it has all the custom buttons. My worry was that, you know, you only have like the toggle wheel here and you don't have one in front. And I'm so used to basically having the aperture wheel here and then the shutter speed here. So I was like, I don't know how that's going to work, but turns out the shutter speed is this wheel, which is fine. Everything works good. And it has a flip out screen. So great for being able to set up shots, and especially when I'm filming myself. And I love that, you know, they stuck to the whole thing with the movie manual. You know, it's like they thought about it just like they did with the A7S III. They have the same thing, S and Q, which I don't really use. I'd rather use, you know, HD 120, especially on this camera, but for the A7S III, 4K 120. And, you know, and then you have your setups, the 1, 2, and 3. It's just so similar to the A7S III. Like, I feel like these cameras are very, very similar, but this is 8-bit. So I don't know what to do here. Like, I guess my question is to anybody out there that is a Sony fan and has these cameras, or say you have an A6600 or the 6500, whatever model, A7 III, A7S3, A7C, do you have multiple cameras that use, and like, how are you matching them? How do you get them to match? Because I am really struggling with this right now. The image is all great, that looks great, but just getting the colors, I mean, it shouldn't be that hard. I mean, they're all from Sony, and that's what I'm saying. It's just, I feel like their colors are getting worse, and if you see the same thing, like, I'd have to say one other thing about the A7S III that really bothers me is that, and maybe you guys see this as well, I see it in other people's videos all the time, but depending on where I'm shooting, if I'm shooting where the sun's backlit, and then if I go to the other area where the sun's coming from my back and it's showing on the person's face, it seems like that if I'm doing it where it's shining on their face, then I get more of this contrasty look. And then if I'm shooting from the other way, or say if the sun's from the side or in another position, then it seems like a flatter look. And it's always bothered me about this camera. It's just, and you don't have that with the A7 III. I don't think you have it with the A7C. I'm still testing this camera. I really wish this camera had the IBIS that the A7S III has, but it doesn't. But it's still pretty good. Like, some people say that the A7 III has better IBIS than this. I'm not seeing it. I'm moving around. It seems the same. They both have the rolling shutter. I think it's actually a little worse on the A7 III than this one, but it could be I just haven't tested it enough. And I will be doing extensive testing on this to make sure that I want to keep it, because I do really, really like this size, and just the feel of it overall is really cool. And I mean, I don't know about you, but like the silver and black, I just think it's such a beautiful looking camera, right? So I want to hear from you guys in the comments. This is why I'm making this video, because I want to know if any of you are experiencing the same issues with whether you have the A7R cameras, A7S, the just regular A7 cameras, compared to the newer cameras, whether it's the A1 or A7IV. Are you getting that? From what I've seen online with the A7IV, it seems like it's not having the same issues as the A7S III. So I don't know what to do here. I'm getting really frustrated. I love the Sony look. I definitely like the A7 III and the A7C. I could get like this really film kind of look with these now, which I think it looks better than the A7S III. Everybody's so hyped up on the A7S III. It's a great camera, but these cameras, in my opinion, are just as good. I know it's 8-bit, but so what? It's, at the end of the day, it's what you produce with it. And before the A7S III was released, people were doing amazing stuff with the A7 III, A7R4, all the cameras before that were 8-bit. And people will continue. So let me know below what you think. Give me comments. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe. I do talk a lot about Sony, Panasonic cameras. I did have a Fuji at the one time, but it's not really my thing anymore. I really like Panasonic cameras and Sony. So my goal is to either get another one of these, A7C, and sell my A7 III and just have 2 A7Cs and 1 A7S III. And then for my artsy camera, I think I'm gonna get the GH6 when it's released and sell my GH5. So that's my goal. I want to have 4 cameras, 1 artsy camera for kind of movie making videos, and then my Sony cameras for professional use. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.